Hello YouTube, Sidekick here in my trusty AJS37 Viggen, doing just a quick video to complete a set of videos we've been doing on toss bombing. We've done the Mirage 2000, we've done the Harrier, so today we're going to take a look at how to enter the coordinates and actually fly a mission where we do some toss bombing in the Viggen. So we're just setting up the waypoints here. So the first waypoint we're going to set up is kind of the initial point. We're going to use that power station that we've used in the other two videos. If you haven't seen them, you should go take a look so you know what I'm talking about here. So we're going to use that as one point, and then we're going to use the big target on the range. Now, I will admit that I'm going to set the target a little ways into the trees in this case, because it turns out that the way the Viggen works, the last point, the point that you pick is going to be the last point that the bombs drop on. We're going to drop 8 bombs, so I actually want them to cover the target, so I'm actually picking a point a little bit beyond the target location. So having collected the lat and long coordinates of the two points, then we proceed to put them into the computer. The one thing with the Viggen that's a little different is you put the eastings in first before you put the northings, or you put the longitude in before you put in the latitude, which is different. But so long as you do it in the right order, it all works fine. So first we're going to put in the 2 waypoints. It's pretty simple in the Viggen. Despite it being sort of 1960s and 70s technology, it works just fine. You just have to make sure you do everything in the right order. And it's all a matter of just make sure you put the switch in input. Then you put the waypoints in with longitude first, then latitude. Then you select the next waypoint and go ahead and do it again. Once they're both in there, I'm going to change waypoint B3 to a target point, which you do by in this procedure that you see me doing there on the screen right now. And we'll check and make sure that, in fact, when we go to B3, we get an M3, which means that it's actually a target point. So, looks like we are all set up now. Now, the switchology when we actually get out there could not be simpler in the Viggen. We are going to use the weapon selector in bomb RR mode, and we are going to use the master mode. We're going to leave it in nav, and you'll see when we get there, it's just a matter of following the cues. It couldn't be simpler to drop bombs in loft bombing mode. So let's just not bother with the taxiing the takeoff this time. Let's just go straight out. So we've taken off, we turned left. We're going to go out left here ways to give ourselves a run up to the initial point. Then we're going to get down low. Well, maybe not low for the Viggen, but low enough. And the trick is going to be that we're going to pass the initial point, and we're going to get inside the initial point. We're going to aim at the target. And then really the trick with toss bombing in the Viggen, I found, is to kind of develop a profile, because the HUD does not actually give you any symbology that tells you when to pull up. Doesn't give you any symbology to keep you aligned on the target after you pull up in the way that the Harrier or the Mirage 2000 do. So you kind of have to practice that, come up with parameters that work for you. So there may be established parameters in the Swedish Air Force. If you're aware of them, please let me know, but I didn't find any. So what I decided to do after a bunch of trial and error is to pull up at around 5 kilometers, which admittedly is shorter range than either the Harrier or the Mirage 2000 when we're out at more like 6 to 8 kilometers when we pull up. But again, because we don't have symbology as we pull up with the Viggen, it's a little bit harder to stay aligned, and so I find I can't pull up quite as hard. I only pull up to about 25 degrees or so instead of 45, and of course that limits the standoff. But it's still pretty appreciable, and the accuracy results are pretty good, so I'm reasonably happy with the procedure. If you have a better way of doing it, by all means, let me know in the comments. But this seems to work for me and for the Viggen. So now we're speeding up as we're lining up on our initial point. Because the one thing you really do want to do in the Viggen is get a good turn of speed going, and thankfully that is not a hard thing to do in the Viggen. So we're just watching the range count down to the initial point. It's the same initial point we used in the last 2 videos. It's this little termination station for the power lines. Now we're past the initial point, so we're going to turn on to the target. And we're just going to watch the range count down to about 5 kilometers, and all we're going to do is unsafe the release, and then we unsafe the triggers, which is what you do in the Viggen, and then we are just going to pull up smoothly and wait for the bombs to go. Okay, just counting down. We're under 10 kilometers now, and start smooth pull up, and as we get to 5, pull back a little harder and wait for the light. There it is. And there goes. Now, if we were doing this tactically, of course, we'd brake down and to the left and get out of town. But since we're working on the range here, let's actually fly over the range and see how we did. The big circle is our target. Just going to keep it in view as we orbit around here. And as you can see, those are pretty good results. And as predicted, the last bomb in the line lands where we picked the target to be. All right, well, that's toss bombing in the Viggen. I'm sure there may be other, maybe even better ways of doing it. Again, if you have some comments, please let me know. This sort of completes our little set of 3 videos on toss bombing in the Mirage 2000, the Harrier, and now the Viggen. Didn't get quite the same amount of standoff in the Viggen as we did in the other 2, as I said, because I wasn't really able to pull up as hard. But I still think it was pretty effective. Thanks for watching, and this is going to be Sidekick, signing off.